All right, so joining me now are Dr. Audley Betton, medical doctor, and Dr. Dela McDaniel, past president of the Jamaica Association of Private Pharmacy Owners, because we're going to be talking about something that affects almost everyone in Jamaica at some point in time. We may or may not have had to go to the pharmacy, or a loved one has had to go. And right now, there's a thrust to address a little issue that's been arising, Dr. McDaniel. So I'm going to start with you. I found it interesting because often you go to a doctor, you get a prescription, and as a patient, you blindly just take it to the pharmacist.
Correct.
Because you believe that this writing is in a language only the pharmacist and the doctor and God understands.
Right.
What is the challenge now?
Well, the prescription writing by the medical doctor and the dispensing subsequently by the pharmacist, those processes are governed by regulatory systems. So we have, for example, the pharmacy regulations of 1975, section 20, subsection 5, I believe, that states something like every prescription should contain on it the name of the patient, the age, the address of the patient, the date that it was written. The body of the prescription now would have like the name of the drug, the strength, the instructions or directions for use of the product, and very importantly, Delia, the name of the prescriber in full legible print, as well as his or her registration number, as well as his address and his or her telephone number. I can tell you the last few items I just mentioned, and the prescriber's signature. The last few items I mentioned concerning the medical doctor, those are generally not fulfilled in totality. So you will have the doctor write his signature, but there's no registration number, there's no address. So in an event now, when the patient has gone to see the doctor and takes the prescription to get help at the pharmacy, and you cannot, for whatever reason, it's not legible to the pharmacist, the instructions or the drug, or we would like to contact them for any reason to say this product is no longer available, or I can't quite understand why you wrote that dose because it doesn't look exactly, it doesn't conform to the patient's age or, something. When you want to communicate with the doctor, you really can't because there's no address, there's no phone number. Okay, so you then turn to the patient or the bearer, because in many cases it's a bearer that comes on behalf of the patient, and you say, where did you see the doctor? And they might remember and tell you, but then you ask, what's the name of your doctor? Because when you call, you'd like to speak to the person. They don't remember, they don't know, they never did know the name of the doctor. This is so, even more so when you have a public facility. So the patient went to a public hospital or a clinic. In many cases, with each appointment that the patient gets, it's a completely new doctor based on the rota, the doctor's roster. It is likely or possible that you'll get a different medical doctor each time. So there's not room for communication between the pharmacist and the prescriber. It increases waiting time because there's a lot of calling happening behind that prescription counter. Patients are ill, they're getting frustrated. Additionally, and very importantly, if the patient is using a health insurance card, you are not able to fill that claim. You're not able to make that insurance claim if you do not know the exact identity, registration, and everything of concerning the doctor, the prescriber. It would be illegal for us to do that. So we really want to highlight this challenge that is faced. It affects your insurance, it affects the patient in terms of convenience, sometimes, and it affects the pharmacists very much in terms of your workload. It just adds to the workload. And it's quite unnecessary. It can really be changed if the medical doctors would just put each of those components just mentioned on the prescriptions, because this is the law.
Medical doctor, I'm coming to you.
Yes, I support this whole project of them promoting this. And
what are the challenges, though, from the doctor's perspective?
Well,
sometimes I go to the private doctors, Dr. Benton, and people sit down there from 7 o'clock in the morning until 7 o'clock at night because that's how full it is. Is it a case of trying to are trying to process too many.
No, let me put it this way. That myth that doctors go to university and learn to write bad. If you write bad, you just write bad. And the first lecture I had at university was from the dean of preclinical, which said to us, there's a myth out there that the worse you write, the better a doctor you are. And so if you write badly, you'll never become a doctor because I won't mark your papers. So you must make an effort to write properly. And all she has alluded to there is confirmed almost in the impression people have that only pharmacists and doctors can understand what is written. And if you look at the prescription, the drugs today, there are so many, and some of them are so similar in their outline that mistakes can be made at the pharmacy. So the appeal has to be that the doctors must conform to writing properly. And it is not just about the prescription.
I think we have a sample. I hope
it's not mine.
Of a complete prescription.
No, you're good, Dr.
Dr. Bettany is good?
Yes.
So they're saying, and she said it should be clearly have the date, name, age, and address of the person for whom the prescription is issued, name of the drug, quantity of the substance, adequate. Should I, as the patient, be able to make out some of it?
Everybody's Googling Dr. Google now, you know, and the patients are part of the medical team. They must know what they're taking. And all of them going home now and Googling for side effects and so on. So if the wrong thing is there, you will look bad.
Yeah,
Yes,
because sometimes we don't really know until after the pharmacist has given it to us.
Right.
Then you can read what is on it.
The medical doctor, I believe, has a duty of care to write the correct prescription and write it clearly. The pharmacist also has a duty of care to ensure that the drug they are giving is exactly as the doctor intended. But we also feel that the patient, just like we're talking about the patient having this appetite for information nowadays, we feel that the patient should also have a responsibility to ensure that when they leave the doctor's office, those elements are clear. And so it's a part. The patient is also a crucial link between the medical doctor and the pharmacist. In many cases, when we're not quite sure exactly what we're seeing in terms of the doctor's name, but we think it might be Dr. Betten, for example. When we ask the patient, what's the doctor's name? And they say Dr. Betten, we say, yes. So it actually helps to reinforce what we are already thinking in many cases. And it can help to save a lot of time. When the patient gets the medication the first time they come to the pharmacy, they are more likely to adhere to the medication, which is what the doctors want. They want you to take the medication. But if you have to be sending the patient back to go find the doctor, come back tomorrow or come back next week, it's unlikely that the patient is really going to take the medication as prescribed in its fullness. Sometimes you have the money today, but you don't have it next week. You know.
It's
So there are a lot of factors.
Pharmacists, you know, because the irony is that patients go to emergency rooms at night.
Yes.
And the next day they come and I don't know what
they
the writing is bad across the board.
All right,
and
thank you
the
both.
ethics, a lot of seminars from all the various medical groups, whether it be Association of General Practitioners, they have seminars every year, and ethics is one of the important things that you have to cover. And they are told. But, you know, you're getting on in age.
Thank you both. The collective responsibilities on all of us, patients, doctors, and pharmacists alike. I want to thank Dr. Audley Betten for being with us this morning and Dr. McDaniel from the Pharmacists Associations. We're going to do better because we're aiming for a healthier Jamaica.